The potential is there. Jolyne does have the potential to become the best JoJo. Now listen to me. In the past, I made a video ranking JoJo's parts 1 through 5 from best to worst. And based on what I've seen from Jolyne so far in part 6, she's making a hell of a case. We have never seen any of the JoJos go through what Jolyne's going through at the start of their parts. She is literally in prison. She started off kind of like Jotaro in prison, but Jotaro was able to escape. He was able to go through life not having to worry about prison guards, not having to worry about people that he doesn't even know, not having to worry about a cellmate like Guess. Because if we talk about somebody like Josuke, for instance, if he was in the cell with Guess, there's no doubt in my mind he would have gotten life in prison for killing Guess, because Guess is horrible. Guess is probably one of the worst people we've seen be somewhat of a companion to the protagonist of a JoJo part. I can't stand Guess, but Jolyne, even though she has the tenacity, just like Jotaro, she also has her own type of swag where she's able to make friends with people that she doesn't really like, and she's able to move through the room and people recognize her, and it's different what type of stuff she brings. So based on that alone, we can give her credit there. Now, I want to start talking about the stand, because in my opinion, she does have the second weakest stand ability out of Giorno, Josuke, Jotaro, and Joseph. Hands down, I think Joseph has the worst one. Purple Hermit is not really cutting it for me. But I mean, when we look at Giorno's stand and we look at Josuke's stand and Jotaro's stand, Star Platinum, and I mean, yeah, those stands, they got it. All right, they have super attack power, super precision. They can restore things. They can bring life to things. I mean, it's just completely different than what Stone Free, aka Stone Ocean, can bring. But that doesn't mean that Stone Ocean is trash. Let's get that right out of the way. When we talk about her stand, she can unravel her body and fight from close range, long range. She can listen in with the sound vibrations. She's able to unravel herself, which makes her a top tier defensive fighter in the show so far. We've seen her literally fighting against stands that tried to attack her and they didn't even notice, but a part of her body was missing because it was unraveled through the stand ability. So she can defend herself by unraveling her body. This makes her a very, very versatile fighter. So I'm gonna give her credit there as well. Even though I do think it's the second weakest, she still is able to pull off everything, because when it comes to wits, you can put her up against anybody. You could put Jolyne up against the best of the best when it comes to a battle of wits. She's there. Even though she has a weaker stand ability, she has the wits of a Joseph, and she also has the tenacity of a Jotaro, and Jotaro recognized that. Jotaro knew in their fight against John Gallier, he figured out right away, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I came all the way to this prison to make sure if you had the it factor, if you had the real joestar blood within you, if you were one of us. And she proved it. And that's when he knew, he's like, okay, I'm okay with entrusting this to you. You'll figure out a way to save this. And I say this because Jolyne is in a tougher situation than what most of the other JoJos went through. Outside of Jonathan, because Jonathan literally had Dio pretty much antagonizing his whole life from day one. Everything that Jonathan went through is horrible. But Jolyne is in a type of similar situation. I mean, you have the love of her life pretty much framing her, finessing her, and you find out it's a part of a bigger plan. She's in prison, so not only does she have to worry about stand users, but she has to worry about prison guards. She has to figure out how to get money so she can pay the guards off so she can make moves. I mean, it is ridiculous. If it was not for Emporio, who is kind of giving me some Hayato vibes from part 4, so I really rock with Emporio. But Emporio is playing a big role for Jolyne right now. If it was not for Emporio, I don't know how Jolene's getting out of that situation. That's how dire her situation is. She's in a much tougher situation than Giorno, than Joseph, than Jotaro, and Josuke starting out, hands down. Now, I've seen that some people were already crowning her as the best JoJo, and I just want to pump the brakes on that a little bit. Right now, we're on the Jolyne hype train. We're loving what we're seeing from Stone Ocean. I am a big fan, but let's hold on for a sec, because we have to address the elephant in the room. Jolyne has an all-star squad. What do I mean by this? Earlier, I spoke about how Emporio is one of the greatest I've seen in the series so far. He is carrying Jolyne and her squad. Think about this for a second. Hermes Costello finds out she has a stand, and her stand is actually, I like her stand even better than Stone Ocean. I just want to put that out there. The stickers, making duplicates and all that stuff, it's a great pickup for Jolyne to have on her team. But they do not really mesh together if Emporio does not relay information in between them while they were separated. Emporio also realizes that Jolyne needs some extra help, so what he does is he brings in Weather Report, who hands down probably has the best stand we have seen in part 6 so far. To be able to control the weather, to make cloud suits, Weather Report goes crazy. I love his stand for sure, but are we going to act like we are blind and we don't see that he was carrying Jolyne heavily against Wrangler? He was carrying heavily. Now listen, Wrangler stand is also tough. Zero gravity, we have to give him credit there as well. But Weather Report was carrying heavily, and this is why I'm saying we have to pump the brakes just a little bit, because Jolyne's stand ability, it's not that she's not smart, she's incredibly smart. Like I said, she's up there with Joseph when it comes to wits, but her stand ability is lacking. It's lacking in that department a little bit, because she was completely helpless against Wrangler. And I don't know how that's gonna fare against Pucci and his stand, because he's ripping discs out of people's head. His stand is ridiculous. Jolyne's going to need some top tier help, and I don't even know if Weather Report is enough to make that happen. But is it just me, or is Jotaro looking like a shell of himself? There's no way that anybody on planet Earth can convince me that Jotaro from Stardust Crusaders would have an issue with John Gallier. But now, he's kind of looking a little shaky to me. I'm not sure if that's because he's older, obviously he's a dad now and stuff like that, but he still has some youthfulness to him. He still is able to get up and move around. And listen, Star Platinum is one of the greatest stands. I've said this on multiple occasions, but I believe that Jotaro is the most dominant JoJo we have ever seen. But this argument is not who makes you laugh the most. This is who's the most dominant. And the answer is none other than Jotaro Kujo. Jotaro is #1 strictly for the fact that he is the X Factor. At number 5, I am putting Jotaro Kujo. But right now, he's not looking like it. He is not looking like it. I don't know if that's because Pucci has been able to outsmart him and he's just trying to save Jolyne, or if there's something else going on here. Because even though I'm giving a lot of credit to Jolyne, we have to remember that a big part of her mission is to also bring back Jotaro. Now that's either to help her or to save his life. But either way, even if Jotaro comes back, I don't know how much faith I have in him. He's not looking like Jotaro right now. Right now, he's looking like a shell of himself. Maybe we're gonna need to see Jotaro come back into the mix, and maybe he'll start looking like a part 3 version of himself, because my God, they need it. I will say this, the stand ability is not that great, but it's on its way. Her wits is up there with Joseph, so I'll give her an A+ in that department. She's also in a much tougher situation than a lot of the other JoJos had to deal with starting out. So I'm gonna say she's knocking on the door, at least for the top 3 spot of JoJos right now. She's knocking on the door. She can really make it happen. So you guys let me know down in the comment section below, where would you rank Jolyne right now amongst the other JoJos, at least parts 1 through 6? Where do you have her right now? Do you think she'll end up somewhere? Because we have no idea so far. Like, she may get a Requiem stand. We don't know what's gonna happen unless you're a manga reader. With that, I'll see you next time. Peace.